we have to rush her to the university hospital. And she goes into septic shock.
Oh, my.
We need to be frank with each other and tell the truth. And if we cannot tell the truth because it hurts so much, we need to be able to convey the message in a caring way.
I so appreciate this because everything that you just said, Doc, everything you just said about being frank and being real is what we want to be about.
Right.
And it's what I want this to be about. 2 days ago, a friend walked in the door and introduced me to one of his friends. And we got to talking, and he has an incredible past. He has an incredible story. Roberto was born in Cuba, and he retired as a heart surgeon from Cleveland Clinic. And the story of how he got there and how the Lord moved in his family's lives is absolutely incredible. We had a chance to make a quick 2-hour podcast happen yesterday, the very day after we first met. And it was just a real blessing. We are so glad to be able to share his story. Guys, thank you very much for watching, for just sharing this time with us. My wife loves Jill Winger's Old Fashioned on Purpose planner, and this year's is better than ever. It has all sorts of tabs, from your gardens to your animals to your meals. Anything and everything that you can imagine that needs planning, Jill has built a spot for it in here. You can find this at homesteadliving.com. Order yours today for 2026. So hold my hand, think of me sweetly with a graveyard flower. So let's go back all the way. Tell us how your family came to be in this country.
Okay, so maybe I'll take you back to my grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
As I told you yesterday, my maternal grandfather was born in Canada, but he came from Irish and Scottish background. And when he died, he was still a citizen of Great Britain.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we were able to leave Cuba with a British passport.
Many, many years later, that came in to be a huge part.
Yes. So roots are important, you know?
Yeah.
Both my grandmothers were born in Cuba of Spanish background. But a cousin of mine is doing the whole genealogy of the family. And one side, the paternal one, was fully Spanish. And even though she was born in Cuba, she always leaned towards the Spanish side. And on the other side, on the maternal side, they fought for the Cuban independence. So there are a whole bunch of stories in that, which are very interesting. And then back in, I was born in 52. And in 59, Castro came into power. My father and my maternal uncle actually were helping them out because he was out in the Escambray Mountains, which is sort of close to us, you know, in that same province, and so we were helping out the rebels, the alzados, you know, the Castro invasion, the revolution. Mm-hmm. And in 61, my mother, my sister, my grandmother, and I were already in a boat heading towards Colombia.
In 61, you would have been 9.
9, exactly.
When did Che Guevara come into play here?
Well, Che Guevara came into play in the late 50s. I don't know if it was 57 or 58. You know, the invasion of Cuba, or Castro's invasion, the rebel invasion, came from Mexico. And it landed in the Escambray Mountains, I think. You know, it's an area that is close to Cienfuegos, which is the closest city to our town. And from there, they went to the Sierra Maestra. It was a guerrilla fight. But, you know, the reason why it happened was because there was a big difference in classes. You know, there was an upper elite, the oligarchy, which controlled the the sugarcane industry. There was a growing middle class, which was really up and coming and which was very progressive, and just did not want to have a dictator, because Batista was a dictator.
Is he who Castro basically rebelled against?
Yes.
Baptiste?
Yeah.
Okay.
Batista.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but when he got into power, he became a dictator himself. And he became an oligarchy himself, because he ran Cuba basically as his own little private farm. His father, who was Spanish from Galicia, from the same area as my grandfather, also had a farm. And the story has it, and I have heard it from many sides, so it's not only my version of it, is that he was a ruthless guy. He ran his farm like a slave factory. He did not have slave as such, but he had indentured servants. And so he sold them the goods at the farm store, and when they say is that some neighboring farms were taken over by his father, by Castro's father, and that the farm kept growing and growing and growing.
Interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
Interesting,
Huh?
yeah.
So it kind of goes with what we were talking about yesterday about the family and how important what you learn growing up in your family is in the way that you develop and in your values.
So let's go back to, you're 9 years old. You're in a boat to Colombia. Why Colombia?
Because my paternal grandmother had a sister who had married a Catalonian guy in Cuba, and then they left to Barranquilla, to Colombia. And he went on to have a business on a farm there. And so my grandmother got in contact with her sister, and through I guess, business contacts or through the government, they got us tourist visas to leave Cuba, and essentially we were refugees. You know.
Did your dad and your mom see the Castro invasion or takeover? Did they know what was coming? Did they sense it?
No.
Why did they want to leave?
Well, listen, they were pro-Castro. They wanted change. They wanted change in the Batista government because they were not satisfied. They wanted to do things right. And my father was essentially running the farms that my grandfather started. Yeah, my grandfather was a carpenter, and he worked on boats that did the what do you call that? When you go from port to port, you know, the small ships that went from port to port carrying merchandise. It's
like
just
the merchant marines?
Well, yeah, I mean smaller boats that went around the island.
Okay.
Because that was the easiest way to communicate, to just bring goods in and out of certain areas, you know, because the roads in Cuba at the time weren't that good.
Right. So you jump on a boat and you can buzz around and get there quickly. And this would have been in the 50s and 60s, hence no internet, hence some telephone?
No.
Or their phones?
This was actually at the beginning of last century.
Okay.
Even before the Cuban independence.
I'm sorry. You did say your grandpa.
My grandfather.
That's right. Your grandfather. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you get to Colombia with your mom and dad.
No, without my dad. He stayed behind because by that time, the Bay of Pigs had already occurred, and he was now fighting Castro and aiding the rebels that were in the Escambray Mountains and in the area around our town.
So, okay, I'm sorry. I know very little about the Bay of Pigs. Was the Bay of Pigs something that we as the United States brought on?
Well, who knows what happened, okay? The truth of the matter is that there were a lot of Cuban refugees or exile, refugees. They were in Miami. They were all over the United States. They were in Central America. They were in South America. And they just wanted to go back there and kick Castro out.
Okay, because they saw that it was going sideways.
It was a popular revolution that was mainly the whole purpose of this revolution was to bring democracy back to Cuba.
And then it didn't really happen at all.
It was just a change from one dictator for another dictator.
Yeah. How long did it take when Castro got into power until the people started to say, wait a second, this is not what we wanted?
I think it did not take long. But it always, it doesn't change like that, doesn't happen from 1 minute to the next. It's a slow boil. And so you turn the heat up and frogs start jumping out of the boiling pot, you know?
So your dad is now left in Cuba
Right.
fighting against Castro.
Yep.
Did you tell me yesterday that he was working possibly with the CIA?
I have no way of proving it. I don't believe that he actually was fighting with a gun, but he was running all the logistics, or he did a fair amount of background work that make the fighting possible.
Informational reconnaissance, things like that.
And actual aid. There was aid going there, because I remember going in the Jeep. We had an old Willys Jeep, from the Second World War.
Yep.
That was used for transportation, but was also used to plow the fields.
You put a plow behind an old Willys Jeep.
Yeah.
That is...
That was the way it was done. And sometimes they would put like seats, like bumper seats in the rear bumper. And you would have, I don't remember if it was 3 or 4 people just throwing sugarcane sticks. When you plow the field, it would make a trough.
They were planting.
They were planting. So
As you went.
And then they had a pair of oxen or a tractor. There were not very many tractors then. They would have the sugarcane seed covered by the earth. I guess you do the same thing, but now you just use a drill and just plant the seeds with a drill.
Yeah.
But there you just used a piece of sugarcane, and the sugarcane would just come up from that.
Did they bury the whole piece, or did they stick it into the ground and leave some of it up?
I cannot tell you for sure. I think it was you just bury it, and that thing just springs up, and you have several shoots come up from one piece, and that's why you just don't have one sugar cane, but you have like a bunch of sugar canes come up together.
So forgive me. I'm not a huge tequila, all those different kinds of drinks guy. Doesn't sugarcane get used in making
rum?
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So was Castro and Cuba, were they making and exporting a lot of rum?
Well, rum was being made in Cuba back in the 1700s and 1800s.
Oh, my.
Yeah. And then there was a family, the Bacardi family.
I've heard of them before.
Yeah, you heard of them before, right? You also heard Cuba Libre, but there is no such thing as Cuba Libre. Cuba is enslaved.
Wow. So okay, let's go back to your father. He's in Cuba. He's unable to get out for a while, right?
He chose to stay.
He chose to stay and fight.
Because he said that if people like me are not ready to stay behind, then there is no hope.
Wow.
So he stayed behind. And you can imagine for my mother, who must have been in her early 40s, to go alone to a foreign country with 2 young children and her mother. And we left in October. We left, I think, in September. I'll get you the the dates because I'm not good with that, but my sister knows. And then in November, my aunt, my uncle's wife, came out of Cuba with her 2 children.
Okay. Did they head to Colombia to be with you guys?
Yeah.
They did.
So we were 3 adults and 4 children. It was 5 women and 2 boys.
So did they bring news of your dad?
Yeah. And there was still hope that things would get better and that the counter-revolutionaries would be able to run Castro out.
Wow.
And this is where the beloved American hero, President Kennedy, screwed it up with a capital F.
Okay. Okay.
Because when he sent the fighters or the rebels or the counter-revolutionaries to invade Cuba again through the Bay of Pigs, they completely changed the landing zone. The landing zone should have been through the Escambray Mountains because it was easy for the rebels to escape to the mountains if there was no, if the invasion or the landing failed. Whereas where they landed was in the Bay of Pigs, which only had a dirt road coming out of that area, and it was swamp all around there. In fact, our family owned a farm right at the entrance of that area, and it was called Gurugu. And it was close to my hometown because when the invasion happened, we could hear the bombings going off. And we were happy. We said, oh, the Americans are coming. The Americans are coming.
Mm-hmm. And you thought it was a good thing.
It was a good thing.
Yeah.
Everybody was elated.
Mm-hmm.
Or not everybody, but the vast majority of people who wanted democracy and who wanted a government that you could trust.
Mm-hmm.
A government that we could trust. You know?
So go back to how did JFK's sending the troops in to the Bay of Pigs mess things up? Did that mean that your rebels, the good guys, were now effectively trapped when they would try to escape? They didn't have an easy way out?
They didn't have an easy way out. And I wish I wonder if we could have a freedom of information. If we could really dig in as to why the plans were changed. Because my father all along was part of the planning from the inside.
He would have known.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
And everybody was prepared to assist them in the other place, near the Escambray, near Trinidad. Mm-hmm. And it didn't happen there. And then all of a sudden they say, no, it's happening in the Bay of Pigs. And my father said, oh my, what the heck is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
You see?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and then Kennedy said that they were going in and they were not going in, they were going to give them air support. And he withdrew. And who the heck knows what were all the power plays going on in there, because we're not privy to those conversations. But all I can tell is what I know from my father, and my father was a man. He was a man. He did not talk much. He did a lot.
Yeah.
And so this business of whether he worked for the CIA or not, the CIA probably knows. For sure as they haven't contacted me. And my father never said anything. So it may just be speculation and assumptions on my part. So in life, there is truth, there is good, there is bad, and there is something in between. And we can be absolutely sure that you and I are talking and we're recording this thing, but we do not know what spin people may put on things, all right?
Yeah.
And that fuzziness is the thing that divides us.
So, boy, this is so fascinating. So, how long were you in Colombia?
Well, we were in Colombia. I'll get you the right timeline. So I don't want to give you some number, but we were in Colombia a few years, which were particularly, they were not easy. They were not easy on the emotional side. They were not easy on the economic side. And they were tough. But we had help, and people there really they embraced us.
They knew that you were, leaving and fleeing.
Yeah, so they embraced us, and they were very good with us. And most of that generation is gone, but we still have family there. I went to Colombia. My sister and I went to Colombia maybe last year, and we were able to be together with our cousin there.
Wow. How did your mom and your aunt provide for you 4 or 5 kids while they were there on their own, right?
Okay. So my mother was a teacher, and she decided to leave. She did not want to leave, but the minute that Castro said the children belong to the state.
Yeah.
There is no such thing as parents being in control of their children. The children are property of the state. My mother said, not my children. Take them out.
Yep. Wow.
Yeah, and she could not teach, and she needed to keep her mouth shut. And she said, no, I am going to teach, and I am going to say what I believe in. And the school principal said, Marilisa, you cannot say this thing here. It's best if you go out of the back door. There is a little side story of that, which some other time I'll tell you. But there was a... actually, I might as well just say it right now. So the thing that... the straw that broke the camel's back was it was a civic act. In civic acts when school children would get together in the schoolyard, and they would sing a song or recite a poem or something like that. And that day, one of the teachers was asking for some person to be shot, literally shot, to a rebel that was caught, a counter-revolutionary that was caught in the neighborhood. The children would say, Fidel campeón, para fulano de tal pedimos paredón, which means Fidel champion, for so-and-so we demand firing. It's just kind of what they did to Christ, right? I mean, when he would say, crucify him. So the children were taught to ask for someone to be shot. And that completely revolted my mom. And she said, no, like hell, I'm going to leave my children here.
Right.
And my dad said, you should go, but I'm going to stay behind.
I can't imagine the strain and the stress of being a young mom and dad with your two young children living in that clear and present danger to your family and having to make those hard decisions.
I think throughout history, it's something that has happened time and time again. It happened to the Jews, right? In Germany. It's happening now to the Palestinians in Gaza. It's happening to the Ukrainians in Ukraine. It has happened to the Cambodians with the Khmer Rouge. It has happened to the Chinese in Tiananmen Square. You know, it happened in the October Revolution in Russia.
And in Africa.
And in Africa, it's happening all the time. It's happening in Sudan. And we seem to be only focused on one thing or another. And, you know, I mean, I think humanity deserves better. And humanity deserves the truth to be told transparently, bare, raw. And nobody wants to hear that. But we should talk about it, and we should clarify those things.
So let's keep going. This is absolutely so good. So your mom and dad make these decisions. Your mom sees the Civic Act. That's it. She makes the final call along with your dad.
You're right.
To leave.
Right.
So you're in Colombia for a few years. Your aunt and uncle come with their 3 children, or just
my
your
uncle?
Aunt?
No, just my aunt.
Where was your uncle at that time?
He was still in Cuba.
So he stayed with your dad.
Yeah.
Were they working together?
Well, I don't know, but I think they probably were, because they were very good friends.
Were they were brother-in-laws?
They were brother-in-law.
So they would have been family. So then how did your dad and your uncle get out of Cuba?
Okay. Let me go back to how my mother, my aunt, and my grandmother were able to make it. So my mother had 2 jobs. She taught, actually 3 jobs. During the morning, she taught in one school. During the afternoon, she taught in a Colegio Americano, the American school. And in the evening, she did private lessons. My grandmother would cook, and take care of the kids. And my aunt had also cooked. She did. She was a seamstress, so she wasn't a seamstress, but she learned how to sew, and she was doing, shirts and pants and dresses for women, anything, any type of work. And on top of that, the Colombian government at that time had a program which I can't remember how it was called, but essentially they sold rice and beans and staples at a reduced cost to households, that then they could sell those to other people and have a small, make a little bit of money there. So imagine like little stores. Imagine out here in the heartland that instead of having one store, you had like you do have some of that.
Yeah.
You have little shops that you can either ride the horse or the buggy or walk or a bicycle.
Yeah. The Amish have many
little shops. So the government in Colombia kind of promoted that. And it was not only out in the country, but also in the cities.
Okay. So that gave them a chance to make a little bit of extra money.
And we bought rice and beans cheaper than if you bought it at the store.
Which was wonderful for your own
absolutely
feeding.
So we ate a lot of rice and beans and lentils and corn.
Wow. So they're doing all these little things, all these odd jobs. Your mom has 3 jobs, teaching, doing all these different things. How was life for you and your sister?
It was wonderful. When we look back, we say it was a good time because we were busy. We did not have these things. And we were always looking for stuff to do, So part of the thing we did was that on the weekends, my mom, my aunt, and my grandmother would make empanadas, which are turnovers, but the Cuban empanadas are very savory. And the Colombians loved them.
Really?
So they would make the empanadas from scratch. And they would fry them, and we would take the hot empanadas around the neighborhood.
You and your sister?
I was the older one, so I was the one who got stuck with it. And I hated that thing.
Really?
That was something I didn't like, but I did it.
Yeah.
I think I was not a very good salesperson, but there was not any other way around it. You say
so the neighbors would love them. They bought them, and again,
they helped us.
Yep, it made a little bit of extra money for your family.
Yeah, they helped us.
Wow. So what happened next? So your uncle and your dad come back. Does your entire family stay in Colombia, or do you move?
Well, when we stayed 3 years in Colombia. In the meantime, my aunt and my 2 cousins, it was really rough on them. And so my aunt had a brother in New Jersey who was managing a big restaurant in Hoboken.
Okay.
And he said, listen, come over here. I think your children are going to have a better life, and you certainly are not going to have all the harassment that you're having in Colombia, because, I mean, things were rough in Colombia. I mean, there was the beginning of a wave of revolution, the beginnings of the FARC and all those things. And it was kind of violent. And, we were scared. My mom was scared. My aunt was scared. My grandmother was scared. And they would take turns at night just watching that somebody wouldn't break into the house.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
It was, I mean, we had good neighbors and everything, but, burglars would sometimes break into houses. And we had nothing. I mean, there was nothing of value, but, 3 women alone without a man there. Can you imagine that? So, yeah. So they left for New Jersey, and my mother, my sister, and I, and my grandmother remained in Colombia until some cousins of ours left Cuba and went to Puerto Rico. And then my mother said, well, why don't we just... And by that time, my uncle also had left Cuba and was with my aunt in New Jersey. And then we all got together in Puerto Rico, all 3 families.
So your aunt and uncle came from
New
Jersey down to Puerto Rico. Was Puerto Rico an American state?
It has always been a possession from the Spanish-American War.
Okay.
From the late 1800s.
Okay. So you meet in Puerto Rico. Your dad is still in Cuba.
Yeah.
He's still in Cuba.
Yeah.
Do you remember what year you went to Puerto Rico?
I went to Puerto Rico, I don't remember what year. It must have been maybe 66, 65, or in the mid-60s. So
you're a teenager.
No. I wasn't a teenager yet.
Okay. Okay.
Or just early teenage. May have been 13, 14, I don't know. But I do know that when I was in 5th grade, I did 4th grade in Puerto Rico, and it was one of the worst school years that I ever had. I was in a Catholic school with some American nuns that were kind of clueless as
about
to what teaching is all about.
Really?
Yeah, they were totally clueless. They were so rigid and they were not empathetic at all.
What were you like as a little kid? Were you, well, I'll just ask, what were you like as a little kid?
I have always been very shy, and I have been an introvert. I have become more of an extrovert after I mature at 70-something years of age. So it's never too late to change.
So if these nuns were overly harsh,
Yeah.
if they were really strict, it really crushed your spirit.
Well, I think they were just stupid or dumb or didn't know any better. So I rather
Yeah.
give them the benefit of the doubt.
They weren't doing it on purpose.
Yeah, I
They
mean-
didn't know any better.
How do you think you can be good when your face is covered like this? You know? And this thing is cutting right through your forehead, and you have a veil that goes like that, and you have, in 90 degrees weather, you're wearing a black robe. So you must be cooking inside. You know, I mean, I can empathize with that, you
I
know?
never thought about that.
Yeah.
So that was the worst year of your schooling.
Yeah. And so I went back. My mom spoke with my language teacher, who later on I knew he was Turkish, but I didn't know that he was a Sephardic Jew.
Interesting.
Interesting, right?
So you go back to Colombia, you meet this teacher.
I already met him because he had been teaching me German and French,
Okay.
you know, in his home. He rented a building that had 4 condos or 4 apartments. He lived in the upper left-hand side, and the 3 other apartments were for classes.
Wow.
So he opened his home to me.
He must have seen something special in you.
I think he was the one who was a special guy. He is what I call a human.
Wow.
He for me, I mean, he was like the father that was not present.
Wow. So how long were you with him there in Colombia?
I think 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
And then, you know, my mom needed help, and she wanted me back, and I think I needed to be with my mother and my sister and my cousins and all that. So I was sent on an exchange program between the Carl C. Parish School, which was, you know, an American school.
In Puerto Rico?
In Colombia.
In Colombia. Okay.
I was sent over to Alabama, to Huntsville, Alabama,
What?
because there was an exchange program between Carl C. Parish and Huntsville, Alabama. So they would exchange students. So some students from Huntsville would go to Barranquilla, and students from Barranquilla would go to Huntsville. And I lived there with an American family, and the father in that house was a Baptist minister. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that was probably 7th and 8th grade? Am I close in there?
That was in 8th grade.
In 8th grade.
You're right. I mean, you keep track of time very well.
So what did you do after you went back to Colombia after Huntsville?
No, I went back to Puerto Rico.
Back to Puerto Rico.
And then I just stayed. Okay. And we had our immigration status was, we had a tourist visa, which was changed for some other type of visa that allowed us to stay longer because of the political situation. I guess it's what they have now. I don't know, with the Venezuelans, and we were essentially asylum seekers.
Okay.
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 We were lucky that we were lucky because there was the Cold War. So they would not, the American government would not ship us out.
Yeah.
Which is what is happening right now. So I have a lot of empathy for what they're going through. And I think, let me just say this. And I think we need to be cognizant of the situation that is happening in other countries. And let's just reflect on that for a few minutes. Let's think about the people in Afghanistan that were collaborating with our troops. And now we're sending them back. I don't think that's right.
You're making the point that we are sending them back to the Taliban, to all of those not great situations, instead of taking a breath and thinking about it and saying, let's pause.
Let's pause. Let's do due diligence in whom we're sending back.
It seems like there is a tendency to look at everybody that is in the country that in a way shouldn't be there and just kick them out, right? Yeah. I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, the system has been broken for decades. For decades. It's not from one day to the next.
Well, that leads me right back to a question that I wanted to ask, where you were talking about your aunt and her children, your cousins, getting up to Hoboken.
Yeah.
Did they go through New York, through the
through the Ellis Island?
Yeah, through Ellis Island?
Because I think they may have landed in JFK or Newark. Okay, remember that at that time, leaving Colombia was through DC-6, those airplanes, propeller airplanes, because jets were not landing in Barranquilla yet.
Okay.
So it took several hours. And then I don't know if they took a jet or a train or whatever from Miami to Hoboken.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So now let's go back to you're back in Puerto Rico. How do you end up in the United States?
I went from Barranquilla to Puerto Rico. I mean, I went from Huntsville, Alabama to Puerto Rico.
So now, I'm sorry. Puerto Rico is an American property or whatever you want to call it. I'm sorry. So you're technically on American soil inside Puerto Rico. Did you receive citizenship in Puerto Rico?
I received citizenship in Puerto Rico.
You did?
Yeah.
Your whole family?
Eventually.
Were you first?
No, because I guess I have always been a rebel.
I have no idea why.
I have been quiet.
Yeah.
I am introvert, but deep inside, I am a rebel. In fact, one of my mentors at the Cleveland Clinic used to call me, Chico, you're a rebel.
Well, I've got a lot of questions about how you ended up
At the Cleveland Clinic?
At the Cleveland Clinic.
Oh, it's a whole story.
I can't wait to hear it. So you become a citizen. How long do you stay in Puerto Rico?
I stayed there throughout. I finished high school in Puerto Rico. There was I started in 9th grade, and I finished in 11th grade because I took a couple of summer classes between 9 and 10 and 10 and 11. Mm-hmm. And so by the end of 11th grade, I was out of school and I went to the University of Puerto Rico.
So you start there. Did you always know that you wanted to be in medicine?
No, I wanted to be an engineer.
Okay. How did that shift?
Because I couldn't afford to go to engineering school.
But
Why?
you could afford to go to medical school?
Well, this is so interesting. Because, what people don't know is that education in Puerto Rico, college education, was accessible to just about anyone.
Really?
Yeah. A semester of college education for me back in 1970 when I started was something, I don't know if it was $15 or $50 a semester for a full load of credit, which was 18 credits. Mm-hmm. I think it was $50 mm-hmm. because it was, I think, $100 a year.
Wow.
For a full BA education.
No kidding.
Okay. Now, that was if you worked hard and studied hard and had a certain point average. Mm-hmm. If you partied and just did not keep up with the grades, then you paid somewhat more. Maybe I think it was $300.
Was that provided by the government?
Yeah.
They actually funded, subsidized the education of the Puerto Ricans.
And it was very good.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. And that is what we need to have here in the United States. I think it is the duty of the government to give education that is accessible to everyone.
We've been publishing Plain Values for almost 13 years now. And about a year ago, the team and I decided to put together a compendium, a best of, if you will, of our favorite stories, the most impactful stories of all those years. And Invited is what we built out of those conversations. It is 194 and 4 pages, and it is absolutely a thing of beauty. We do a monthly gathering here where we just simply open our doors. It's called Porch Time. And the story of how Porch Time came to be and how our family was invited into that and how we are inviting you and every Tom, Dick, and Harry, anybody who wants to come can come and hang out at Porch Time here at the office in Winesburg. So it was such a natural fit to use the home of the founder of Porch Time and to call it Invited. You can find it on plainvalues.com on the shop page, and you can now consider yourself invited. Did you leave Puerto Rico with a college degree, a Bachelor of Arts?
I left Puerto Rico with a BS, and It's not a BS.
Bachelor of Science.
It's a Bachelor of Science. Yeah. and then I did it in 3 years because there was a program where you could get into medical school in 3 years if you took all the credits. It's the same thing that is happening here at Newcomb or Neomed. You do 3 years a bachelor's degree or an accelerated program, and then you enter into medical school. But I finished medical school 4 years later with an MD. So it was an BS, MD together.
Did you go to Stanford?
No.
Did you go to Harvard?
No.
When I looked you up, when I was doing research, I saw those two schools somewhere.
That's my son.
That's your son.
So I couldn't get to Harvard.
Okay.
It's so funny. I'll tell you the whole thing. So, yeah, I did well as during my bachelor's degree, and when I applied to medical school, the guy who interviewed me for Harvard was a nasty SOB.
So apparently you didn't get in.
Well,
He didn't like you very much.
No, he didn't like me because he was a Puerto Rican who did not like Cubans. There were some Puerto Ricans that resented the Cubans there, just like there are some Gentiles that resent the Jews, or there are some white people that resent the colored people, or there are some colored people that resent the white people. It's just, that's human nature.
Yeah.
You know? So anyway, he didn't give me a very good recommendation. And Colombia told me that they would love to have me, but they couldn't give me financial help.
Really?
And Yale told me that they were interested in me, but they were going to put me in an experimental group, and they would keep track of me to see what was happening, what would happen to me throughout my career. I never heard of them.
Really?
But they also left me in limbo saying, well, you know what? You're still not an American citizen, so we cannot give you financial help. I had a green card at that time, but I could not apply. I couldn't get any loans or anything like that, which, thank God, I remained in Puerto Rico because my whole career, from bachelor's degree through medical school, turned out to be $3,500.
The whole thing?
The whole thing. And I am fully boarded in general surgery and fully boarded in thoracic and cardiovascular surgery.
Well,
with $3,500. Now, why can we not do that in Ohio? Right?
What is the average education for a doctor cost today? $300,000 to $500,000.
Yeah,
sure. It has to. It has to push $500,000.
So can you imagine who can afford that? We cannot afford that. I think that some schools are finally opening their eyes and becoming aware of the problem.
Yeah.
And all these crazies that have a lot of billions of dollars, they want to do something good. Fund education. That's what we need.
Yeah.
We need vocational schools because that is what the world needs.
Yep.
We need to create schools that are not run by nuns or Talibans or anything like that. We need schools that have an open mind.
Well, there's if you follow anything from from Nicholas, what is his name? Oh my, he's written a bunch of books on the vocational gaps. There's effectively between, it's either 4 million or 7 million working aged men that are just not in the workforce. They've taken themselves out of the workforce. And you have between 4 and 7 million open jobs in the trades, the plumbers and the electricians. And yes, those guys are sitting.
They are in here.
They're on their phones and they're playing games.
And they are angry.
Yeah.
And they are crazy.
It's
because, they're just eating their stuff. They're eating out of this thing.
Oh,
instead of
amazing.
working.
Everybody is so, okay, I'll say it like this. We are the most connected people in the history of the entire world. And yet we are the loneliest people in the history of the entire world.
Absolutely.
It's this incredible.
It's disconnection world. We are disconnected. It is very seldom that we can have a dialogue because we are enclosed in our own little shell, And you know what happens to an egg when you drop it?
Yeah,
boom.
It breaks.
It breaks.
So I've got a whole bunch of questions here about the things that you see culturally that's happening around. But let's go back to your career for a second. Sure. If I can do that. So you're 18, you're applying to Yale and Harvard and Columbia, and they say, no, thank you. You go back to Puerto Rico to do your medical school?
I stay in Puerto Rico because I got accepted to medical school. But I was having, I did my BA in chemistry, and I loved it. I loved physical science, physical chemistry, which had to do with all the the physics of it.
The minerals
the atoms and how the atoms work and the quantum theories and all those things,
Okay.
And I love that. I had a great professor, a PhD in chemistry, Stevenson. And that guy was great. Yeah.
So what did you do first when you got out of medical school?
So I thought I was going to I said, I'm going to go and do medical school. But then when I got to medical school, there was a change in the curriculum. And they had totally changed the whole way. It was the first year of an experimental program that was adapted from Case Western.
Okay.
And the old system had worked very well. The new system, we didn't know whether it was going to work or not. And I said, oh, crap, another experiment here. I don't know. I don't want to be another experimental guinea pig again. But
you didn't have a choice, right?
Yeah, but then I said, you know what? I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to keep on going with this thing. I may just go back and do a PhD in chemistry or something like that. But then I think I had a conversation with my dad and all that. And I said, well, I got accepted into medical school. If I do a PhD, I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to work for a university or for some company. If I become a doctor, I'm going to be my own boss. And guess what? The rebel in me triumphed, and I say, okay, here we go, medicine. Yep. And I stay in medicine.
Okay, that makes total sense. So, by the way, where and when did you meet your wife in all this?
Oh, I met my wife in my second year in college.
In Puerto
had,
Rico.
Yeah, she had long, beautiful,
Yep.
blondish, reddish hair. And she would sit in front of me, and she always did this sort of thing. I remember in the physics class, and her friends saw that I was looking at her. I say, "Hey, Marisa, this guy is looking at you."
Did you guys get married before you were out?
We got married after we finished our internship
Okay.
year. So
Okay.
we waited.
Was she in medical school as well?
Yeah, she went to medical school.
That's what I thought you were saying. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
So you both finished medical school. Did you move up to the States right away?
Well, I was doing my my first year in Mount Sinai.
Okay. That's
Now, these Jews were totally different than my Jewish father.
really.
Yeah, than Alberto, you know?
Wow.
And not all of them, because the director of the program, the surgery program, was Dr. Ovsis. And he was very good with me. You know, he was very good. And he didn't want me to go back to Puerto Rico after my first year, but I got fed up. Because, you know, there was a guy there, a big, burly guy with a thick New York accent that just looked like a... He went into orthopedics. And he was like the high priest that condemned Christ to the cross. This guy put me on call during Christmas,
Oh, man.
you know, and also on call during his holidays. And I can see that. But you know what? There is no need for them to be nasty like that. So I say, like, hell, I'm going to stay in this place. And
Yeah.
I wasn't doing surgery.
Really?
I wasn't doing surgery. I was just holding retractors. In Puerto Rico, I did my first appendectomy when I was in 4th year of medical school.
Yeah.
I did my whole appendectomy skin to skin. And I did a whole bunch of other surgery, and I did a lot of experimental surgery in surgery in experimental labs. And so by the time I went, I was an intern, I was running circles around my fellow residents. Even I was technically better than 2nd and 3rd year residents.
Just by default, having the experience of doing things that they had never touched.
Absolutely.
Wow. So you're at Mount Sinai. Did you leave and go back to Puerto Rico?
Yeah.
You did? Okay.
Yeah.
So where did you go from there?
Then one thing is to look at things from the outside. Another thing is to look at stuff when you're really inside the system.
And it's happening to you.
And it's happening to you. And there is no perfect place. You know, it's what you make of it. And I was contemplating doing then a PhD in biomedical engineering. And I was going to go to Johns Hopkins.
Okay.
Okay. And when I got in touch with them, it would have set me back several years because I would have had to take a whole bunch of dry mathematics and physics and all that thing. And I just wanted to dig into the biomedical engineering part. And, you know, I mean, it's a highly structured way of educating people, and it wasn't as flexible then as it is now, which is a heck of a lot more flexible. So then I spoke with Ausis again, and he said, well, you want to come back? I'll have a spot for you to finish.
Mount Sinai.
Back to Mount Sinai.
Yep.
And I'll find, and my wife also had a spot at a premier radiology program because she wanted to be a radiologist.
Mm-hmm.
And she got pregnant. The Holy Spirit came.
So she's pregnant.
And
wow.
she starts having problems. And she starts having bleeding problems.
Mm-hmm. How far into the pregnancy does this happen?
Well, that happened. We'll talk with her, but I think it's around the second trimester. Okay. And so she's having spotting. And I'm going to tell this it's a very personal part, and I want to be able to just cut a whole bunch of this out, but I want to share it with her because it's something that I think it's very pertinent for a lot of people that may be experiencing this. So it was then, okay, so you're pregnant, and who are you going to see? And there was a younger surgeon, a younger obstetrician gynecologist who had taught us when we were medical students. He said, this guy seems to be a decent guy. And when he saw her, he said, okay, you're spotting, but that's really nothing much. And then the spotting got larger and larger. And he said, oh, I think you're going to lose the pregnancy. And it got a little bit more. And he essentially tried to do an abortion with his finger.
Really?
Yeah. And I think what happened is he lacerated, looking at retrospect, he lacerated the cervix. And still, the pregnancy continued. Okay? But we got the heck out of his care.
So you're a doctor and you see this.
But we were young. We didn't know any better.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And you had trusted him.
And we had trusted him.
Wow.
Later on, we found out that he was known for doing abortions.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I guess that he may have thought, this is going to be a headache for me. Let's just terminate this pregnancy now. Okay, and that way she's not going to keep coming back here to my office complaining of spotting and bleeding.
I'm sorry.
So anyway, it's what happens, but it's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So we went back to the School of Medicine, to the university hospital, and then we're under the care of, I don't remember who, but my wife does. But they told us, okay, what you need to do is you are having a premature contractions, and you need to be on bed rest, and you need to start taking Britolin, which is a it is a medicine that decreases the uterine contractions. Still, there was no diagnosis of incompetent cervix, which is the real reason why this thing was happening. So she stays. We move with my father and my mother, and we stay in their house, and she is in total bed rest. And one day, she starts bleeding out towards I believe it is like the 27th week of gestation or something like that.
Really early.
Relatively
this is
early.
this is early.
This is early. This is relatively early, and she starts leaking amniotic fluid. And what happens next is that she becomes septic, which means she develops an infection, and we have to rush her, and she starts bleeding more heavily, and we have to rush her to the university hospital, and she goes into septic shock.
Oh my.
And we are surrounded by our own friends. We are surrounded by fellow residents
That you'd been working with.
that we had gone to school with and that we had trained with. And everybody was frozen, and my wife was dying there.
Oh my.
And we put her down, and they were not able to get any intravenous into her. And I took a big needle and tried to get this central line in, and she was totally out of it. And I couldn't get that vein in, but she somehow just woke up from the pain, because I used no anesthesia or anything. I just stuck that like if I was in trauma, and my tears were flowing. But somehow, I was lucky enough that after I tried here, I tried the femoral vein, and I got into the femoral vein and stuck a catheter in there and gave her a lot of fluid and got her resuscitated. And we did an arterial blood gas, and her pH was 6.9. And her bicarbonate was way, way low, and her base excess was extremely high. And she's alive by the grace of God.
I don't know what any of that means, only to assume that she was really close.
She was very close. And so eventually she delivered a baby girl. And, some friend of ours wanted to do everything. And we said, no, we shouldn't do everything. Just because something can be done doesn't mean that something should be done. And thank God that we had the knowledge. And more than the knowledge, the wisdom. And the humility to recognize that there are moments in time that we simply have to lower our head, and just accept whatever comes.
When you say that your friend wanted to do everything, what do you mean?
Well, resuscitate them and treat them very aggressively and put them on a ventilator and doing all these things that at that point in time is totally, why do it? I mean, we don't have, the fact that we can do things doesn't give us permission to become gods.
Are you referring to your wife and daughter?
To my daughter.
To your daughter.
My wife, by that time, I mean, she was responding to the treatment. She was responding to the antibiotics. Mm-hmm. She was getting better. So that was, she turned around fairly quickly.
Okay. So how long after you were able to get the femoral artery?
The femoral vein.
The femoral vein. You got that. How long until your daughter was born?
Just a few minutes.
A few minutes?
Yeah. It was
just like that. So then your friend tries to jump into action and say, let's do all these things.
No, it was right. These things happen
so fast
that it's.
Yep. Sorry to jump in.
And this is that's where you need several points of view.
Mm-hmm.
My wife was out. She probably doesn't remember any of these things. But you know what? We have some friends that were there. There is one obstetrician who probably is retired now, who my wife said, she later told me that she was okay if she went, because if she died, then I could marry this friend of ours.
All right.
And her name is Maria, so
that's funny.
That's funny.
So your daughter?
So our daughter just, she may have lived a day.
Really?
Okay. And so by that time, we decided, we had said, we're not coming back to the States. We were already in our third year of residency. Mm-hmm. Her on her third year, I was on my third year. And so we told Dr. Alves, you know what, we just cannot go.
Wow.
And then so we both retain our spot in the residency program, her in pediatrics and I in surgery. And then the Holy Spirit came in again. She got pregnant.
Okay.
and we were going to do a trip to Europe. And we say, yeah, we'll go. It'll be fine. In Paris, she loses her second pregnancy.
Really?
At the American hospital there, which was a wonderful experience, the way we were treated in France. The American hospital was an old place, but it was so clean and so beautiful. And the stairs, the old stairs, just like the ones the Amish make here, where everything is so polished, the wood is rich, and beautiful and all that. And the doctor was extremely, extremely good. And he told us, listen, what you have is an incompetent cervix. If you ever get pregnant again, you need a cerclage.
I don't know what that is.
They put a ribbon around the cervix. So the cervix is like this, right? Mm-hmm. The uterus is here. The cervix is the entrance to the uterus. Mm-hmm. So this thing, the muscle fibers become relaxed. The sphincter is relaxed.
Okay.
And so what you do is you put like a cerclage, you tighten, you put a wire around it. It's not a wire, but it's kind of the same. And so that the pregnancy, the child stays inside. And so that way, she had 3 others and she wanted more. And I said, not with me. may find another donor, but I'm not. I'm donating to the cause. So we had 3 children, 1 boy and 2 girls.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So you ended up not going back to Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
or you did.
Yeah, from France. Oh, after she lost the pregnancy, we continued on the trip, a bus trip.
Oh my goodness!
I don't know how she did it, but she's a strong woman.
Wow,
she's very strong.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, did you practice in Puerto Rico for a long time?
No. So then we went back to Puerto Rico, and I finished my residency, and she finished her residency in pediatrics. She practiced there for a few years at the school of at the pediatric hospital, while I was finishing my general surgery.
When did you move back to Ohio?
Okay, so I finished my residency, and I applied. I did an extra year because I did not know what type of surgeon I wanted to become. Mm-hmm. And I finally chose to become a heart surgeon because I said, well, I want to be a surgeon of the skin and its contents. And which is the most challenging organ? I said, it's the heart. Well, it's not the heart, it's the brain, but I didn't want to become a brain surgeon.
Yeah.
So I decided to become a heart surgeon. And I had an excellent relation with the chairman of the department, Don Gumercindo, who was a cardiac surgeon himself. So he took me through my first open heart surgery when I was only in my 3rd year of residency. I did my first open heart surgery with him during my 3rd year of residency.
Wow.
So by the time, and I said, oh man, this is so wonderful. By the time I came to the Cleveland Clinic, I was pretty well on my way to being trained.
Yeah.
You know.
So let's jump ahead a bit here for the sake of time. Can you share the most profound thing that happened during any surgery that you think back on and are just totally amazed?
I think every surgery is amazing. And you know, each case is individual. It's one person. Mm-hmm. You know, there is no such a thing and the most this or the most that. Everyone is one individual, one person. And that's what everybody forgets.
Yeah.
I mean, these hospitals today are factories. I mean, they are factories.
And just cranking them out in a way.
Yeah, they're cranking them out.
Wow.
And that was one of the things that I really did not like about the Cleveland Clinic. I was there. I loved it. But I guess I just did not like the Kool-Aid that was being served.
Interesting.
You know?
How long were you there?
Well, I returned. I was, after I finished my residency here, I returned to the Cleveland Clinic about a year and a half later. And this is going to be a very interesting, this is one of the points in my life when I started to become that, where I really matured. And that defined my career. I was the youngest of 3 surgeons. The older 2 surgeons, actually, I was the youngest of 4 thoracic and cardiovascular surgeons. 2 which were at the university hospital and 2 which were at VA hospital. And I was between I went from one place to the other. Mm-hmm. And at the university hospital, which is where I did most of my cardiac surgery, because there was a greater volume of open hearts, I worked primarily in the adult service because I was more trained to be an adult cardiac surgeon than a pediatric surgeon. And there was a pediatric surgeon there who was my former teacher and who actually had operated on me. And that's another podcast that we should make.
Okay.
And there was a rash of a whole bunch of infections, sternal infections, mediastinitis. And this is unheard of. A whole bunch of people getting infected, some of them dying, some of them winding up with the whole sternum being taken out. The children died because the children did not have the resistance. They were a lot more fragile than adults.
What did you call it?
Mediastinitis. It's an infection.
Okay. Does it have any similarities to MRSA?
Well, at that time, the MRSA can cause mediastinitis. But mediastinitis just means an infection in the mediastinum, which is all the area that surrounds the heart.
Okay.
But infections don't occur spontaneously. Mm-hmm. You have to make an incision. Mm-hmm. You have to cut through the skin. You have to cut through the muscles. You have to cut through the bones. So we are the cause of the infection.
Somehow.
The people that are doing the surgery are the cause of infection.
Right.
And the patient brings the bugs from the skin, but the infection also can come from the air around the room and the instruments if they're not clean, or the hands if they're not clean, right? Or the nose of the people who wear the masks, because the masks are not 100%. They don't filter the bugs 100%. But it so happened that where these infections were occurring were in room 20, which was next to the bacteriology lab, which was next door, and which most likely had the air conditioned
Wow.
ducts communicating somehow.
Right.
And I said, guys, there is a problem here. We need to stop doing surgery and we need to put an end to this. We need to stop. Pause. Hit the button. Don't keep going. Boy, was that the wrong thing to say. I was enemy number one. Primarily, I mean, the two surgeons that were there were them and an anesthesiologist, an older anesthesiologist, who was kind of clueless. She was supposed to be a pediatric anesthesiologist that knew a lot. Well, she didn't know much. And turned out later on to be the dean of the School of Medicine right around that time. And I got into it with her. And the rest is history because, I saw the writing on the wall, and I called the Cleveland Clinic, and the chairman there said, Chico, don't worry. Come back here. I got a spot for you. I'm going to become the CEO. You can take the spot that I'm leaving behind. And then I just came in.
Wow. So did anything ever come of room 22?
20.
Room 20.
I am sure that everything continued to be the same, and a lot of people died that probably should not have died.
So they didn't really address the issue.
No.
How hard would it have been to move the operating room?
Oh, it would have been a major problem.
Yeah.
But, even if it's a major problem, I mean, are you going to put somebody an extra risk knowing that there is a problem there? I mean, it's like driving at night through the wrong neighborhood with your windows down. You wouldn't do that, right?
Yeah. Wow. Oh, this is so fascinating.
These are the things that happen in all hospitals today, and has happened in all places all the time, and happens in governments, and it happens in industries, and it happens in families. And this is why I think these frank conversations are so important. I mean, we need, if we want to really improve the lives of everyone, we need to be frank with each other and tell the truth. And if we cannot tell the truth because it hurts so much, we need to be able to convey the message in a caring way so that we don't hurt people.
Yeah. A friend and a mentor of mine always talked about being truthful and kind.
Yeah.
And he's a wonderfully wise guy. He's pushing 80 now.
Yeah.
And I love every chance I get to spend time with him.
I'd love to spend some time with him because, he's a few years ahead of me. So I still probably have a lot to learn from him.
It's,
You should have him sometime.
He's a great guy. And they have walked some hard roads. Yeah. And it is a joy to be able to to share life with someone who you don't have to wonder if they know hardship or what it's like to be, you know, in a spot with your back up against the wall and really genuinely not knowing where to go and what to do with your child or with your whatever the situation is. But I so appreciate this because everything that you just said, Doc, everything you just said about being frank and being real is what we want to be about.
Right.
And it's what I want this to be about. And I just so appreciate it. I really look forward to doing this again and picking up a lot of the stories. I mean, I've got a ton more questions in the back of my mind and on the paper that I think we could dive into. And if you could bring your wife or your friend along,
I think
that would be wonderful.
I think what I'm gonna do. What we're gonna do from Canton, we're going to go through Minnesota and talk with Karen and Hawken. Okay? And then maybe on our way back in September or October, when the leaves are turning, we'll bring them over.
That would be wonderful.
And they would love it. And I think you're going to love their stories. Because if you think this is interesting, their life story is just, you know, it is fantastic. You better book for a whole week of testimonials.
What's the name of the ministry that they work with?
Health from Tears.
Health from Tears.
Health from Tears. This is what real Christianity is about.
Wow. I can't wait to meet them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, these guys are just unbelievable human beings.
I can't wait. Thank you. Thank you so much. We just met yesterday.
Isn't
it
wonderful?
We just met just yesterday through a mutual friend.
But we have this has been an excellent dialogue.
I enjoy
I think you know how to interview.
Well, this is just great. I so appreciate it. I can't wait for the next time. So
we'll get Eli.
I love it. Thank you. This podcast is sponsored by my friends at Azure Standard. A while back, I had a chance to sit down with the founder, David Stelzer, right here at the table, and we had a great conversation. I love the Azure story. They started out as farmers back in the 70s, and I think in 1987, they began a nationwide food distribution company. And guys, they are non-GMO, organic. They do it right. They do it so well. And you can get a truck to drop food right in your town. Check them out at azurestandard.com and tell them Marlon and Plain Values sent you.
So hold my hand.
In his book, Rembrandt is in the Wind, Russ Ramsey says that the Bible is the story of the God of the universe telling his people to care for the sojourner, the poor, the orphan, and the widow. And it's the story of his people struggling to find the humility to carry out that holy calling. Guys, that is what Plain Values is all about. If you got anything out of this podcast, you will probably love Plain Values in print. You can go to plainvalues.com to learn more and check it out. Please like, subscribe, and leave us a review. Guys, love you all. Thanks so much.